Hello everyone. You are listening to stories on the LoveStory channel. If you enjoy them, please like and subscribe to support us in making more videos. The Crown Prince is gay and wants to keep me. Normally, the Crown Prince keeps making mistakes. Yet he never gets punished. While I end up taking the beatings every single day. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed into his room, lifted my shirt, and revealed the wounds on my body. I hoped that after seeing how much I had endured by his side all these years, he would at least stop causing trouble for me. But to my surprise, his gaze suddenly darkened, his rarely serious face turned solemn, and his voice grew hoarse. Be mine, and I won't let anyone lay a hand on you again. I panicked and bolted out of the room, not even bothering to put my clothes back on, rushing straight to the old master's mansion. Be mine? Those words from Logan Bennett truly terrified me. Back when I worked for the old master, I had heard countless rumors about Logan Bennett. He was infamous in the LGBT community for his bold and ruthless lifestyle. His ways in the bedroom were nothing short of torture. Sometimes, the agonized screams of men could be heard echoing from his room. However, ever since Logan Bennett demanded that the old master assign me to him, I had never seen him bring anyone back to his quarters. Even so, I could not suppress the deep-rooted fear I had of Logan Bennett, an inexplicable, overwhelming fear. Logan Bennett was truly terrifying. He loved racing, skydiving, fighting, and engaging in extreme sports. These hobbies might have been just personal interests. But what really sent chills down my spine was the way his eyes gleamed with excitement whenever an accident occurred during a race. The more gruesome the scene, the more exhilarated he became. Every time I was punished for failing to keep up with Logan Bennett, his eyes would linger on the scars on my back, as if he were restraining something deep within himself. It wasn't until later that I realized, what he was suppressing was desire. A blinding, obsessive desire. I decided to meet the old master and resign. I could no longer continue this job. The looming threat of Logan Bennett haunted me to the point that I could barely breathe. Confronting the Bennett family, a powerful force among Beijing's elite, was beyond my ability. If I didn't escape now, I couldn't even begin to imagine what the future held for me. Julian Bennett remained silent as I handed in my resignation. Then he finally asked, "Are you absolutely sure about this?" I nodded. I couldn't endure it any longer. Logan Bennett was extremely dangerous. If he truly wanted me, I feared I would never escape. Though I had no desire to oppose the Lee family, I also couldn't stay and wait for the worst to happen. Julian Bennett spoke in a low voice. If Logan wants something, he must have it. Otherwise, he will destroy it. His words sent a chill down my spine. Fear crept up inside me. But I remained firm in my decision to resign. When I left, I devised a way to deceive Logan Bennett, telling him that I had some family matters to attend to. I'll be gone for a few days. Logan Bennett showed no reaction. He simply stood silently behind the second-floor glass window, his expression unreadable. Yet, I couldn't shake the eerie feeling that someone was watching me. After moving several times, I finally found a new place in Haiti, a small city where I hoped Logan Bennett wouldn't find me. As time passed, I started to feel safe again. But then something strange happened. When I returned home one evening, my front door was ajar, even though I had locked it securely before leaving. Before I could react, men in black suits emerged from inside and surrounded me. I could fight, but I was no match for so many of them. In an instant, I was restrained and brought before Logan Bennett. He looked just as cold as ever, but I could sense the quiet fury simmering beneath his expression. Sitting on a chair, he swirled the liquor in his glass, watching me with an unsettling calm. After the others left, Logan Bennett motioned for me to come closer. Kneel. I obeyed without hesitation, not daring to meet his gaze. A quiet chuckle escaped his lips before he asked, "Didn't you say you were allergic to alcohol? Then why were you drinking so happily with someone else?" I lifted my head, realizing that his anger wasn't just for show. Logan Bennett lightly patted my cheek and chuckled. "The Bennett family has countless bodyguards. Yet you dared to run away? If I had ordered them to shoot you back then, you wouldn't have even known where the bullet came from." After saying that, Logan brought the glass of liquor close to my lips and commanded, "Drink." I hesitated, afraid he might have put something in it. In truth, I despised alcohol. Every time I went to a bar with Logan Bennett, he caused trouble, and I was the one who suffered for it. My hatred for alcohol ran deep. The last time Logan forced me to drink, I had to lie and say I was allergic to alcohol. As for the man who had offered me a drink before, I had no choice but to accept it. If he hadn't vouched for me, I would have been dragged to the police station. He even helped me find a job. Despite my lack of qualifications or background, he saw me as a good friend. And when he offered me a drink, I couldn't refuse. I remained silent, refusing to drink. Logan Bennett didn't rush me. He slowly withdrew his hand and placed his foot between my legs, pressing down lightly with the red patterned sole of his shoe. It wasn't hard, but enough to make me grit my teeth. Sweat began to form on my forehead. My body heated up, craving relief. But just as I was about to break, Logan suddenly pulled his foot away and opened a silver suitcase. Inside was an assortment of strange tools that made my skin crawl. My breathing quickened. I stammered, What are you planning to do?" Logan Bennett chuckled softly, but his eyes held no amusement. His fingers traced over the items in the suitcase as he spoke slowly. 1 month. I gave you an entire month. If, during that time, you had called me even once or sent me a single message, I wouldn't be making you suffer like this now. He paused before continuing. Since you've been with me for nearly 4 years, I'll give you one last chance. 1. You return as my bodyguard and follow my orders from now on. Or 2. Tonight, I will make sure you die in this house. Choose. He stared at me, his dark eyes piercing into my soul. I quickly averted my gaze, unable to meet his. After a few seconds of hesitation, I finally spoke. If I don't choose? Logan Bennett didn't respond. Instead, he silently took out a collar from the suitcase, opened it, and smiled, but it was a smile devoid of warmth. If you don't choose, I'll choose for you. As the collar neared my neck, panic surged through me. I hurriedly blurted out, I choose the first one. Logan Bennett sighed, as if slightly disappointed, but carefully placed the collar back in its original spot. Then, he lifted his glass, took a sip of the liquor, and turned the side he drank from toward me. He smirked at my reluctant expression. Drink. Compared to being tortured to death in this house with those horrifying tools in the suitcase, drinking a little liquor, mixed with his saliva, was nothing. I convinced myself of that as Logan Bennett pressed the glass to my lips. Good boy. This time, his smile was genuine. Leaning in, he untied my restraints and, for once, gently applied medicine to the wounds his bodyguards had inflicted on me. Zachary Blake, as long as you obey me, I won't let anyone hurt you. Bullshit. I cursed inwardly. Weren't all these wounds on my body because of that damn Logan Bennett? I returned to the Bennett household. Old Master Bennett looked at me, his expression as if he had expected it all along. He rarely praised me, but this time, he said, not bad. Escaped for a whole month. Promising. I didn't know if he was praising me for being able to run away for a month, or praising Logan Bennett for being able to hold back for a month before bringing me back. But none of that mattered anymore. Life seemed to have lost all hope. My heart was cold. I used to think that Logan Bennett's ambiguous statement only meant I had to sleep with him. But my job remained the same. However, there was always the feeling of being watched, like an icy chill on the back of my neck. Until one day, Logan Bennett's elder brother was summoned back to the main house because of a marriage alliance. While he was smoking, I asked him, Eldest young master, are you marrying the daughter of the AB group because you love her? He chuckled softly and shook his head. No, I don't, but it doesn't matter to me. I don't have anyone I like. And neither does she. I thought for a moment and then said, then can you find a marriage partner for the second young master? He's not young anymore, almost 2 years overdue. I thought that since the Bennett family was a large conglomerate, maintaining appearances was important. At least, after Logan Bennett got married, his ambiguous relationships would be dealt with. I really couldn't endure these days of fear any longer. Every day that passed, I worried that if Logan Bennett suddenly decided to take me, what would I do? Lucas Bennett, who was holding a cigarette, paused slightly. He looked at me, suppressing a smile, and then his gaze shifted behind me. I felt my entire body stiffen, not daring to turn around. Just as I was about to run, a hand suddenly gripped my shoulder. A deep, sinister voice echoed in my ear. Go to my room, take off your clothes, kneel down, and wait for my punishment. I could only cry without tears and obediently do as I was told. I didn't dare to resist Logan Bennett, or the outcome would be far worse. About 30 minutes later, I heard the door open. Logan Bennett walked in, carrying the familiar silver suitcase. I swallowed hard in fear, pleading with him. Young master, I was wrong. Please don't do this to me. Please. I really don't like it. I'm really scared. From the first time I saw that suitcase, I understood that all the rumors were true. The main Bennett residence had many buildings, and each family member had their own. I used to live with old Master Bennett, because he liked peace and quiet and lived quite far away, so I had never heard the screams of any men. At that time, I was still half believing the rumors. But now, seeing Logan Bennett skillfully take out each item from the suitcase, I couldn't help but believe it. I also knew that today I had angered Logan Bennett again, and he wouldn't forgive me as easily as before. Logan Bennett didn't even bother to look at my pleading eyes. He coldly sat down on the bed, slightly lifting his eyelids, his expression a little displeased. Choose one. If you don't, I'll choose for you. I trembled, my eyes scanning the pile of terrifying objects. Finally, I shakily chose a candle because it seemed the least dangerous. Logan Bennett raised an eyebrow, pinched the candle between his fingers, and gave a meaningful smile. That smile of Logan Bennett gave me a bad feeling. Before I could even open my mouth to ask for something else, he lit the candle, watched it burn, and commanded me, kneel between my legs. I felt humiliated, but I had no right to resist. I knew that all along. I pursed my lips, not saying a word, my knees inching forward until I was kneeling directly in front of Logan Bennett. He tilted the candle, and drops of wax dripped down. It was low-temperature wax. Not too hot, but when it fell right on the wounds from yesterday, I couldn't help but tremble. Logan Bennett seemed to intentionally aim at the wounds and sensitive spots to drip the wax. I bit my lip, trying not to make a sound, but it seemed that my reaction displeased Logan Bennett very much. He lifted his leg, gently hooking it around my waist, his deep voice softly saying, "Take off your pants." Suddenly, I clenched my fists, for the first time not immediately obeying Logan Bennett's orders. Logan Bennett clicked his tongue in annoyance, his expression full of displeasure. What? My words have no effect? Take off your pants right now. I felt a surge of anger rush from my chest straight to the top of my head. So angry that my eyes turned bloodshot. I stubbornly said, "I won't." Immediately afterwards, my hair was yanked up forcefully. Logan Bennett's expression became extremely ugly. "You dare to defy me? You made a mistake and you still dare to yell in my face? Have I been too lenient with you that you've forgotten your place?" The past days of living in fear and insecurity had all turned into anger. My chest heaved violently, and I yelled at him. "Lenient with me? On what grounds do you say you're lenient with me? These wounds on my body, damn it, are all because of you. You didn't listen to my advice. Stubbornly doing as you pleased. Causing trouble everywhere. Causing me to be punished. Beaten until I'm covered in injuries. Is that what you call being lenient with me, in your mouth? I've already said, I don't like playing with those things. I don't want them, but you never listen." I pushed away Logan Bennett's hand that was grabbing me, my eyes feeling like they were about to crack. "I've had enough. You Bennetts, if you have the guts, then kill me. I never want to play these perverted games with you. You really make me, damn it, feel disgusted." I stood up straight, looking down at Logan Bennett who was sitting on the bed. His face darkened. For the first time, I felt satisfied. If I die, then so be it, but a person should die with dignity. I've had enough of this bastard Logan Bennett. Whoever wants to play with him can go right ahead. I was about to leave when my wrist was immediately grabbed forcefully. Right after, I was thrown violently onto the bed. Logan Bennett sat on top of me, his hands squeezing my neck. You said I was disgusting? You dare to call me disgusting? Where did you get the guts? Logan Bennett's grip tightened. I completely believed that he really wanted to strangle me. But just as I was about to pass out, he released his hold. He smiled sarcastically, his fingers caressing my lips. His voice suddenly gentle. Zachary Blake, aren't you disgusted by me? Then I'll turn you into someone just like me, filthy and disgusting. Just like me. That way, you'll never say those words again. I was terrified. A strange madness flashed in Logan Bennett's eyes. This time, he really wasn't joking. I angrily cursed. Logan Bennett, if you dare touch me, I will never forgive you. My threat had no effect. Logan Bennett leaned down, his lips forcefully pressing against mine. Logan Bennett's strength was immense. His hands like iron clamps, making it impossible for me to escape. I clenched my teeth, but he pried them open anyway. His tongue invaded, making me suffocate. I bit down hard on the tongue that was wreaking havoc in my mouth. Logan Bennett immediately raised his head, his eyes meeting mine. I saw undisguised disgust in his eyes. He froze for 2 seconds, then pushed me away violently, angrily shouting, get out now. I sprang up like a carp, quickly running away. Before closing the door, I glimpsed Logan Bennett knocking all those little toys onto the floor, smashing them to pieces. I knew how much he treasured those things. The day I returned, I saw him put them in the safe with my own eyes and lock it 3 times. Yet now, he smashed them all. That proved he was furious. Once he calmed down, the one who would be dealt with would probably be me. But I didn't want to run anymore. It was useless. No matter where I ran, I would be caught and still have to live in fear. I was no different from a rat hiding in the sewers, always having to sneak around. Meanwhile, Logan Bennett was a leisurely cat, free and unfettered, enjoying my panic and fear. When I thought I was safe, he would deliver a fatal blow. Fortunately, I was an orphan. There was nothing in this world worth my attachment. In 100 years, everyone turns to ashes. So what if it's a few decades earlier? Maybe heaven would take pity on me and reincarnate me as Logan Bennett's son. And then I'd play him to death. Thinking for a while, I unknowingly fell asleep. When I woke up, it was afternoon. I felt a little confused. Why hadn't anyone called me to work at this hour? As soon as I opened my phone, I saw the head of the security team tag me in the group. Zachary Blake's position is adjusted from bodyguard to regular security. The task is to ensure the safety of the old house. I froze. That was it? I made Logan Bennett so angry. And all he did was demote me? This lenient handling was not at all like his style. After washing my face, I began patrolling around the mansion. Still feeling completely baffled, I even wondered if I had scolded him so harshly that he lost his mind. Why would he assign me such an easy job? Even though the salary wasn't as high as before. At least it was safe. I no longer had to endure beatings or punishments from Logan Bennett. It was unbelievably comfortable. I stayed at the old house in high spirits, while Logan Bennett's expression grew darker by the day. Every time he passed by me, the cold aura radiating from him made me feel like I was about to freeze for real. 3 days passed, and I started to sense that something wasn't right. That night, just as I turned off the light to sleep, the door to my room was suddenly kicked open. I immediately turned the light back on and saw Logan Bennett stumbling in, looking completely disheveled and drunk. His expression was grim. He glared at me, lying comfortably in bed, and gritted his teeth as he spoke. It's only been a few days since you left me, and you're already living so comfortably. Huh? Do you even remember who you're supposed to be protecting? If I didn't come looking for you, would you have never bothered to check on me? Zachary Blake, I've been losing sleep over you these past few days. Nearly going insane. And yet you're sleeping so soundly? I didn't know how to respond. After all, I really had been sleeping well these past few days, better than before. Since I hadn't been getting injured. But explaining anything to a drunk person was pointless. Young master, you're drunk. Let me take you back to your room to rest. Just as I was about to get up and help Logan Bennett back to his room, I had no idea what set him off. He strode over, pushed me down onto the bed, and looked at me with a fierce expression, letting out a cold laugh. He said, "What's wrong? You don't even want to see me now. Zachary Blake? Want me to let go of you? Keep dreaming. Let me tell you this. You're staying with me for life. I will never let you go." With that, he kicked off his shoes, threw his coat to the floor, and climbed into bed, wrapping his arms around me under the covers. His sudden movement stunned me, leaving me momentarily frozen. By the time I regained my senses, Logan Bennett had already wrapped his arms around my waist, burying his face in my chest, inhaling my scent without a care. I immediately pushed him away. "If you want to sleep, go back to your own room." But before I could move, my wrist was firmly grabbed. Logan Bennett suddenly opened his eyes. His dark pupils were filled with a deep, shadowy desire. He moved closer, a half-smile playing on his lips as he stared at me. "If you move again, you might as well forget about sleeping tonight. I won't let you escape a second time. Zachary Blake." I didn't dare move anymore and obediently lay still beside Logan Bennett. He let out a soft chuckle and reached out to stroke my face, as if rewarding me. "Good boy." With that, he tightened his embrace and fell into a deep sleep. I already knew Logan Bennett would never let me go. My peaceful days didn't last long before I became his personal bodyguard again. After finishing work, as usual, he went to the bar to drink and cause trouble. After a few days without getting beaten, I unconsciously shrank back at the thought of it, my whole body tensing, even my teeth aching. Logan Bennett noticed my reaction and gestured for me to come closer. As I stepped forward, he grabbed my tie and leaned in to whisper in my ear, "Do you want to stop getting beaten?" I knew he was about to say something along the lines of becoming his or playing one of his twisted games with me. I couldn't even be bothered to respond. But this time, he didn't get angry. Surprisingly, he remained calm and said, "Zachary Blake, do you know why I've never listened to your advice?" "I don't know. You clearly know you'll get beaten. Yet you still do it." "Because I have no right," I replied. "I'm just a lowly bodyguard. How could I have the authority to interfere in my young master's affairs? At most, I can say a few things out of principle. But over time, I realized advising you was useless. Whether I said something or not, I still got beaten anyway." Logan Bennett let go of my tie, leaning lazily against the back of the sofa, tipsy as he spoke. "Because you said it wrong. Every time you opened your mouth, it was always, 'The boss won't allow it,' or 'The boss will be angry.'" He lifted his gaze, his eyes clouded with intoxication. His lips, glistening with alcohol, were so strikingly beautiful and seductive that I suddenly felt a bit thirsty. His voice rang softly in my ear. "If you changed the way you spoke, like saying, 'Young master, I'm worried you'll get hurt,' or 'Drinking is bad for your health. I don't want you to drink,' then I would definitely listen to you." Logan Bennett's expression was serious, his eyes fixed on me, as if waiting for me to say those words. They weren't difficult to say. At the very least, they were easier than getting beaten. I opened my mouth and parroted him. "Young master, drinking is bad for your health. I don't want you to drink." He smiled, his eyes curving in satisfaction. He gently stroked my face. "Good. Then, just like that, after hearing what he wanted, he left the bar. I stood there, stunned. Did he really leave? This was the first time Logan Bennett had been so obedient. It felt a little strange. Maybe he really was drunk. Thinking about how he had plans to go skydiving tomorrow with a group of rich kids from Beijing, I decided to try my luck again. Then, "Tomorrow, young master, don't go skydiving. I'm worried you'll get hurt." Logan Bennett had just reached for the car door when he suddenly froze. I swallowed dryly, thinking to myself, I've overstepped. Maybe Logan Bennett was just playing around, messing with me for fun. "Zachary Blake, did you really take it seriously?" I was just about to say I was talking nonsense when he suddenly burst into laughter. "Zachary Blake, I like it. I like it when you take care of me like this." He leaned in close, his lips less than an inch from mine, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "Zachary Blake, from now on, can you always take care of me like this?" Maybe it was because the night sky was especially beautiful that evening. Or maybe it was because Logan Bennett was rarely this obedient. But for the first time, I felt like, maybe he wasn't so unbearable after all. Lucas Bennett's engagement party. As Logan Bennett's bodyguard, I, of course, had to follow him every step of the way. Logan Bennett looked at me and, in a rare moment of kindness, said, "Go take a walk. This island is where my parents held their wedding. Other than for family engagement ceremonies, outsiders are strictly forbidden to enter at any other time. If I missed this chance, who knew when I'd get another?" But he didn't continue speaking. I glanced at the team of bodyguards surrounding him and figured there shouldn't be any issues. After all, Logan Bennett had personally given me permission. So, I decided to take a stroll around the island. However, just as I approached the staircase, someone blocked my way. It was the eldest daughter of the Hayes family. I had heard that she had been infatuated with Logan Bennett for nearly 10 years. She stood with her arms crossed, head held high, her face full of arrogance. "What's your relationship with Logan Bennett?" she demanded. "The servants say the two of you sleep in the same bed every night." I felt a little embarrassed. In reality, after the first night Logan Bennett slept in my bed. He had suggested sleeping together again. But I had refused. That was until that night, when he taught me how to avoid getting beaten. After that, he stubbornly insisted on sleeping beside me. I still didn't understand why I couldn't refuse him. But in the end, every night, we did sleep together. It was purely innocent, just lying under the covers and talking. Nothing ever happened. Seeing my silence, she grew impatient, her temper flaring uncontrollably. "Are you looking down on me? You're just a bodyguard. Even if you've shared a bed with Logan Bennett, you're still nothing but a nameless nobody." I looked at her flushed face, red with anger, and, in an unusual moment of kindness, I decided to explain. "There's nothing between me and him. But I advise you to change the person you like. Logan Bennett, he's not a good man. Honestly, whether it was the rumors or his sexual orientation, he wasn't a suitable match for this young lady. If it was purely a business marriage, driven by benefits rather than feelings, I wouldn't have said anything. But it was obvious, this girl had real feelings for him." Victoria Hayes sneered. "You think I don't understand what you're trying to do? You just want me to give up so you can have Logan Bennett all to yourself. Don't you? Let me tell you, that will never happen. If I throw myself down these stairs and blame you for it, Logan Bennett will surely hate you." Seeing her teetering dangerously as if about to fall, I quickly grabbed her arm and pointed upward. "There's a security camera up there." Victoria Hayes froze for a moment, looking flustered before hastily shaking off my hand. I know that. I was just trying to scare you. To warn you to stay away from my Logan Bennett." Looking at her crazed expression, an idea suddenly came to mind. "Let's cooperate," I said. She was surprised. "What?" I led her toward the heated swimming pool and explained. "Falling down the stairs is too dangerous. One moment of carelessness, and instead of getting rid of your romantic rival, you might end up getting rid of yourself. But this is a pool." When I first arrived on the island, I noticed it wasn't far from the engagement party venue. "If you want to frame me, just say I pushed you in. Once you hit the water, scream as loud as you can. Everyone nearby will rush over immediately." She eyed me warily. "Why are you helping me?" I shrugged. "I already told you, it's a mutually beneficial cooperation. I want to leave Logan Bennett, and your plan might just help me do that." She curled her lips into a slight smirk. "You really don't know how lucky you are. Logan Bennett is such a good man. Yet you want to leave him." I looked at her and shook my head. If she had already heard from the servants that I shared a bed with Logan Bennett, then she must also know what kind of person he was. And yet, she still clung to him. Was this really love? At first, I thought she genuinely liked Logan Bennett. But after thinking it over, something didn't add up. It was rumored that she had been in love with Logan Bennett for 10 years. If that were true, she would know that he hated anyone meddling in his affairs. Logan Bennett had an extremely strong sense of personal boundaries. If someone tried to force their way in, all they would get in return was his resentment. Maybe she was just another sacrifice for her family, meant to marry Logan Bennett in exchange for benefits. No matter what kind of person he was, She had no choice in the matter. But this girl clearly didn't love Logan Bennett. Otherwise, she wouldn't need to use me to achieve her goals. I watched as she carefully stepped into the pool and softly said, "Let's hope we both get what we want." She looked up at me, our eyes meeting briefly, before she let out a small smile. Perhaps she had already realized that I had figured out her true intentions. Leaning against the edge of the pool, she spoke in a quiet voice. "Honestly, if you like Logan Bennett, you two would make a good match. At the very least, he wouldn't treat you badly." I was once fooled by his appearance. But later, I learned, he is an absolutely terrifying person. He once took me to the most famous haunted house in the world. Then abandoned me there. He only sent someone to rescue me after I had been scared to the point of complete mental breakdown. He once put a snake in my bed and threatened that if I kept bothering him, he would throw me into a snake pit. If I hadn't begged old Master Bennett, he probably would have really used me as snake bait. He's even more ruthless toward men. The ones who walk out of his room are often beaten to a bloody pulp, barely clinging to life. When I realized Logan Bennett's true nature, I told my family I didn't want to marry him. But they used my mother's life to threaten me, forcing me to win his favor. So for the past 10 years, I've had to pretend to like him while secretly helping my mother move abroad. 10 years? I've been doing this for 10 years, asterisk. My eyes widened in shock, completely unable to believe what I was hearing. I had always thought that when it came to intimacy, Logan Bennett was just a little unconventional. But I never expected he was a complete monster. Victoria Hayes looked at me with a meaningful gaze. "That's not all. In the years you've been by his side, he hasn't enjoyed tormenting people as much as he used to. That's why I dared to keep pestering him. Tonight, I just want to take advantage of the fact that everyone is here so the Hayes family realizes I'm no longer useful to them. I want to live my own life, with my mother, asterisk." I remained silent for a long time before finally saying, "Don't worry, I've checked. There are no security cameras here. This act of yours will go off without a hitch." Hearing this, Victoria Hayes gave me a grateful smile. "Thank you. Help. Someone help me." Victoria Hayes's desperate cries for help sent shockwaves through the banquet hall. As the crowd rushed outside, they found me standing beside the pool while Victoria was thrashing in the water. People reacted immediately. Some jumped into the pool to rescue her, while others stood on the sidelines, watching the spectacle unfold. I was suddenly kicked to the ground. Before I could get up, a furious voice rang out. "Young Master Hayes, you sure have guts. You dare lay a hand on my bodyguard?" Logan Bennett's face was dark with anger, his gaze sharp as a blade. He scanned the crowd, and everyone shivered under his eyes. Too afraid to speak, those who knew him well understood, when Logan Bennett was angry, the Hayes family was in no position to provoke the Bennetts. Even if they had reason on their side, all they could do was endure and keep their heads down. Logan Bennett helped me up. His hand pressed gently against my abdomen, applying light pressure as if checking for injuries. "Good. Your ribs aren't broken. That would have hurt." Then he frowned, his expression irritated as he looked at me and asked, "Are you stupid? You did nothing wrong, so why just stand there and let someone kick you? Where's that usual defiant attitude you always show me?" Before I could respond, Victoria Hayes cut in. "He pushed me in. He's the one who pushed me." Logan Bennett let out a cold chuckle. He turned to face Victoria Hayes, his gaze laced with amusement and menace. "Victoria Hayes, if you want to falsely accuse someone under my protection, I won't hesitate to make sure you never speak again." Victoria's body stiffened, but she still held her ground. "I'm not lying. He's jealous of me because I can stand beside you openly. And besides, aren't we discussing marriage?" Logan Bennett looked at her with a cold smile, his intentions unreadable. "Oh? And why haven't I heard anything about this marriage? Tell me, when exactly have you ever been able to stand beside me publicly?" "I've been holding myself back a lot these past few years. Could it be that everyone has forgotten my old ways? Asterisk." Seeing Logan Bennett on the verge of losing his temper, I quickly spoke up. "It was me. She's not lying." Logan Bennett was so furious that he let out a laugh. He gritted his teeth, staring at me intensely. "Say that again." I lowered my head, not daring to meet his eyes. But I still spoke with determination. I pushed her. When I heard that the two of you were getting married, I was so jealous that I lost control and shoved her into the pool. Before I could finish, a sharp pain shot through my chin. Logan Bennett had grabbed my jaw. His grip unforgiving. I could feel every bone aching beneath his fingers. He lifted my face, his eyes burning with rage. His lips were tightly pressed together as he spoke in a voice as cold as ice. Zachary Blake, have you really decided to leave me? At this point, Logan Bennett understood everything. I had openly admitted my crime in front of everyone and had even acted jealous of his supposed future wife. To settle the matter, the Bennett family would surely kick me out. Even if Logan Bennett wanted to keep me, it would be impossible. His eyes turned red with fury. But beneath that anger, I saw something else, pain. My heart clenched. I didn't know why, but I could feel it clearly. I wanted to leave Logan Bennett. I didn't want to be his plaything anymore. His obedient little pet. No dignity, no rights. So I ignored the pain twisting inside me and forced out each word. Yes, Logan Bennett, I don't want to stay by your side. I beg you, let me go. Logan Bennett suddenly laughed. His grip on my collar tightened. His eyes turning wild. Zachary Blake, keep dreaming. With that, he ignored the crowd around us and forcefully dragged me into the woods. At this moment, Logan Bennett was truly unstable. Images of infamous dismemberment cases flashed through my mind. If he couldn't have me, he would destroy me. Was Logan Bennett planning to ruin me completely? Regret started creeping in. I should never have provoked him. Hadn't I already known he was insane? Why did I still think he wouldn't hurt me? Maybe it was because last time, even when I made him angry, he had only lifted me up and set me back down gently. Or maybe it was because of what Victoria Hayes had said. I thought he wouldn't go mad like this with me. But either way, I had crossed the line. This time, it was really the end. I started struggling desperately. I didn't want to be tortured until I was barely alive and then discarded. Logan Bennett, I was wrong. Please, don't be mad anymore, okay? Logan Bennett suddenly stopped in his tracks. He shoved me against a tree, saying nothing, and pressed his lips to mine. The kiss was forceful, intense, like he was trying to pour all his anger into it. I didn't dare provoke him further, so I stayed still and let him kiss me. He kissed me for a long time. So long that my lips went numb before he finally let me go. I leaned against the tree, panting for breath. He stood in front of me, staring at me for a long moment. Zachary Blake, I'll ask you one last time, do you really want to leave me? I didn't want to make him angry. But I didn't want to lie either. I didn't love Logan Bennett. I didn't want to stay by his side. And yet, looking into his expectant eyes, for some reason, I felt that maybe staying with Logan Bennett wouldn't be so bad. My silence, in his eyes, must have seemed like acceptance. He let out a cold laugh, took 2 steps back, and stared at me before speaking. Go, Zachary Blake. From now on, never appear in front of me again. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the trees. His retreating figure was so lonely that it was almost heartbreaking. I followed after him, feeling uneasy, thinking, this was the best ending. Wasn't it? But just as I was halfway there, Logan Bennett suddenly lunged at me. I was shoved to the ground, too stunned to react when, bang, a gunshot rang out, sharp and deafening, and in the next instant, Logan Bennett collapsed into a pool of blood. My mind went blank. A moment later, I let out a desperate scream. Logan Bennett. The bullet had been meant for me. It was probably the Hayes family who made a move, thinking I was an obstacle to their arranged marriage. But they never expected. Logan Bennett took the bullet for me. The Hayes family was finished. As for Victoria Hayes, she boarded a plane and left the country that very night. I had been sitting outside the hospital for days. But Logan Bennett refused to let me visit him. He even sent someone to deliver a message. Didn't you want to leave? Then why are you here? Today marked the 10th day since Logan Bennett was injured. I looked at Big Bro, Lucas Bennett's bodyguard, whom Logan had borrowed. He shook his head at me, signaling that Logan still wouldn't see me. I sat down, hugged my knees, and leaned against the wall. If I told him that on the day Logan Bennett's life was hanging by a thread, I suddenly realized I might like him, would he believe me? The bodyguard looked at me with a puzzled expression. You like a dead man? I let out a bitter laugh. I know it sounds ridiculous, but when Logan Bennett was in the emergency room, when I didn't know if he'd make it, I suddenly realized, if this world no longer had Logan Bennett, then there wouldn't be anyone left for me to care about. I didn't understand why I cared about Logan Bennett. I didn't know when I started paying attention to him. Then, when he woke up and saw me, his first reaction was to coldly order me to leave, refusing to let me visit him. I couldn't sleep that entire night. And at that moment, I finally understood what Logan Bennett must have felt that day. It was in that very moment that I realized I had fallen in love with Logan Bennett. But maybe Logan Bennett only loved my body. If not, then why did he always treat me like a toy? A sudden thought flashed through my mind. I looked at the bodyguard and said, "Can I use the restroom? I promise I won't go near his hospital room." The bodyguard nodded. Honestly, even if I stepped inside the hospital, I'd still be stopped outside Logan Bennett's room. He had to be the one to ask for me. After coming out of the restroom, I handed my phone to the bodyguard and instructed him seriously. There's something really important in here. The passcode is 234.56. Give it to Logan Bennett and tell him to watch it immediately. It's urgent. The bodyguard looked doubtful but still took my phone to Logan Bennett. Less than 3 minutes later, he hurried back. Young Master Logan Bennett says you need to go in right now. He glanced at me anxiously. Are you sure you'll be okay? He looks like he's ready to tear you apart. I smiled slightly. Don't worry, it's fine. Just as I thought, compared to my soul, Logan Bennett still loves my body more. I knocked on the door. Immediately, Logan Bennett's furious voice came from inside. Get in here. I quickly stepped inside. He was fuming, his expression dark and stormy. What the hell did you take pictures of? It's only been a few days. And you're already that desperate? What if someone else saw it? Zachary Blake, are you trying to kill me with anger? I hurried over, gently patting his chest to calm him down. Don't get angry. You just had surgery. Don't strain your wound. Logan Bennett gritted his teeth. How can I not be angry? I cut him off. I didn't show it to anyone. Young master, don't be mad anymore. If your wound tears open, I'd be heartbroken. The right kind of coaxing always worked. Only I knew how to make myself happy. And it was Logan Bennett himself who taught me the secret to calming him down. Hearing my words, the fury in Logan Bennett's eyes gradually faded. He did calm down, but he still hadn't forgotten the past. Didn't you want to leave me? Then what's this now? I shook my head. I'm not leaving anymore. I realized, I can't be without you. When I don't see you, I can't sleep. I toss and turn all night, unable to close my eyes. Logan Bennett smirked, his tone laced with sarcasm. Oh really? Couldn't sleep? I bet you were snoring like thunder while you were away from me. I immediately hugged him tightly. I couldn't sleep because young master wasn't holding me. I'm not used to it. He let out a scoff but, in the end, I managed to soothe him. Logan Bennett reached for my phone and deleted the photo. Don't take pictures like this again. I nodded, feeling a little embarrassed, and blurted out, didn't I take it because I wanted young master to desire my body? Otherwise, how else could I see you? Suddenly, he grabbed my chin and lifted it. Logan Bennett looked at me, his voice displeased. What do you mean? I only like your body? If that were true, I wouldn't have sent you away that day. He gritted his teeth, his gaze deep and unreadable. Do you have any idea how much restraint it took for me not to do those things to you? If I only wanted your body, I would have used you until you were completely broken. I wouldn't have cared whether you liked it or not. As long as I was satisfied. Whether you were happy or even alive, what would that matter to me? I stared at Logan Bennett, stunned. Why was I different? He ruffled my hair lightly, his eyes filled with nostalgia. When I was 22, I attended my father's birthday party. Back then, you had just entered the Bennett family and thought I was just some harmless, naive rich boy. You even warned me to be careful of the Tibetan mastiffs in the house. I found it amusing. I told you that I was afraid of dogs. That just hearing them made my legs go weak. And what did you do? You didn't say anything. You carried me on your back toward the old house, walking steadily as you reassured me. Don't worry, young master. I will protect you. For the first time in my life, someone said they wanted to protect me. Logan Bennett paused for a moment before smiling. Even though we were nearly the same age, you wanted to protect me. That made me happy. So I asked my father to let you stay. Just so I could spend more time with you. Day by day, I grew to like you even more. But then you heard the rumors about me. You started to fear me. You stopped worrying about me. That made me angry. I deliberately caused trouble just to get you punished. Hoping you would care about me. Even just a little. As long as you cared about me, I was willing to listen to you. I never expected that it was all because of this. But something still didn't sit right in my heart. Then, if someone else did the same thing I did, would you like them too? I admitted it. I was greedy. I wanted to walk the long road of life with Logan Bennett. I didn't want to just be a passing figure in his story. Logan Bennett smiled, pulled me into his arms, and kissed me deeply. Then he whispered gently, Zachary Blake, there will never be anyone else. Do you remember when I told you to check out that island? At that time, I wanted you to familiarize yourself with its layout, so that when we got engaged, you wouldn't feel out of place. I had already written you into the plan of my life long ago. From now on, don't call me, young master, anymore. Call me, a Logan, instead. I was stunned, my heart tightening as if someone had squeezed it. All right, a Logan. Finally, Logan Bennett and I got married. On our wedding day, Lucas Bennett said to me, there's a gift from your older brother in the honeymoon suite. Don't forget to open it. Excited, I eagerly opened the gift box. Inside was a box of toys. All kinds. Completely unopened. I hesitated for a moment. Could it be that Lucas Bennett did this to get back at me for ruining his engagement? Logan Bennett picked up a pair of cat ears from the box and placed them on my head. He looked a little conflicted. What should we do? It would be a shame to waste my brother's kind gift if we don't use them. My face stiffened, staring at the strange collection of toys. I swallowed hard. Logan Bennett sat on the bed and gently stroked my throat. His voice was deep, seductive. But if you take the lead tonight, then I won't have to use these. He patted his thigh and looked at me expectantly. Baby, pick one. I immediately acted spoiled, avoiding his gaze. Hubby. Logan Bennett let out a low chuckle, pulled me into his arms, and pressed me down onto the bed. You always use this trick. One thing I had discovered after living with Logan Bennett, whenever I acted spoiled, he couldn't resist me. I had no idea why a grown man like me, standing at 5'11", had this kind of charm when acting coy. But as long as it worked, I didn't care. Whenever there was something I didn't want to do, I would use this tactic. And every time, Logan Bennett would grit his teeth and say, this trick again? But clearly, he liked it. Before I could relish my little victory, Logan Bennett pulled me into a whirlwind of passion, leaving no time for me to think about anything else. Outside, the sky slowly brightened. Inside the honeymoon suite, the two of us slept soundly in each other's arms. A future filled with sweet days awaited us. Fingers intertwined, as if making a silent vow. This is the person I've chosen. No regrets. No letting go.